let's back up a little bit. So
Okay.
you finished off cycle of your residency, and because you had twins, and then you had another
I
child
finished.
too.
I finished 5 months late. I ended up taking off 5 months in the middle of my second year because I had twins, and so I didn't finish until the end of November of what would have been the third year. And at that time, I was, I think, okay, count, I was 3 or 4 months pregnant with my next kid, my last kid. So I actually found a job working with a pair of women doctors in a nearby suburb. And after about 2 months, they shocked the hell out of me by calling me in and saying, "Thanks, you can go now." I was like, "Huh?"
Wow.
And the way one of them put it was basically, "We love you, we just don't want to marry you."
Wow. Hmm.
On the other
Man.
hand, their practice was closed to new patients, and they had no problem at all with me setting up in town, and they would send patients to me. So I, at the time when they first said, "Okay, go away," I was like 7 months pregnant, and I thought, "Okay, what am I going to do?" And I said, "Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have this baby." So I had some time to think about
Good
what I
priority
wanted
there.
to do.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. First I was going to have a baby,
And you have
and
twins
then
at
I was going
home.
to figure out, yeah, with 2-year-old twins at home.
Wow.
So had the baby, and essentially, I'm not quite sure why I decided to go out on my own. It wasn't so much the thought process as it was sort of, this sounds really weird to put it this way, but it was actually the easiest thing to do, because the alternative was interviewing, calling around, sending out resumes. I had tried that. No one called back. It was a different era, 20 years ago. But so it actually ended up just being easier to hang out my shingle. I sat down with medical supply catalogs and basically closed my eyes and sort of recreated an exam room from my residency and the supply closet, and sort of ticked off all the things I would need, and counted out how much money I would need, and um, started making projections, and it was all total guesswork. But I started going around to banks looking for a loan, and I really wasn't asking for all that much money because I did have the advantage of being married to someone who was in fact able to support me. So if I didn't start bringing home money right away, it wasn't really the end of the world. But so I go off into banks with the baby. The twins are off in daycare. The baby's in the stroller, and I look for all the world like a new mother asking to open a savings account for my baby in the stroller here. And instead, what I'm saying is, "Hi, I'm a family doctor, and I'd like to look for a loan to start a practice." And they kind of looked at me funny. And the last place I went, obviously, this one lady kind of looked me up and down and said, "You don't have 3 years of tax returns with you, do you?" And I said, "Well, I have 1 year of tax returns and the first 2 years projections." And she goes, "Oh, let you talk to my manager." So I end up talking to this very nice lady who ends up holding the baby while I fill out the paperwork.
Get that didn't happen.
It totally did.
Wow.
And so I end up with a line of credit, and which I paid off in relatively quickly. And like I say, the first 10 years were great, just growth, growth, growth. And then it kind of stalled. I think it was sort of the peak and then the crash of the whole managed care thing. What also didn't help, about that point in time, um, maybe 12 years ago, thereabouts, kind of ended up in the middle of a divorce
Ooh.
that I didn't see coming. So things got a little crazy at the office. Um, after about 5 years or so of dating hell, I got so frustrated. I remember thinking at one point, the only way I'm going to find a nice guy is if some nice lady kicks a bucket. And about 3 months after she did, I met him.
Wow. This is a great story.
So
Yeah, keep going.
I actually met this guy online,
Ah.
and we ended up actually, I've been doing a lot of dating, a lot of it on the internet, and so I had it down pat. I can suss you out in 5 minutes. Email for a day or two or whatever. Go to the phones. The rule I taught myself is nothing is real until you meet face to face. So this guy, when we go to the phone fairly quickly, and the thing I had discovered about people who are widowed is, are you really ready to move on? So he was in that very first phone conversation, he was very straightforward about, oh yes, she was sick for a long time, and we talked about it, and she wanted me to move on with my life, and so forth and so on. And then he said something. He said, she even made me a list of who I should marry, and another one of who I shouldn't. Well, as soon as he said that, I started laughing, and in a way I haven't stopped, because my parents had that same conversation.
Wow.
My mother said that to my father as she was dying of breast cancer, and my father, he actually did remarry within about a year, and he has actually been very happily, he and Molly have been very happily married now for 22 years. So, you know how lots of people are married for 25 years, right?
Right.
And plenty of people, can celebrate their 50th anniversary, right?
Right.
Well, in just another 2.5 years, God willing, my father will celebrate his second 25th anniversary.
Okay.
Which is not something that happens every day, but it turns out, once we did meet, it was just comfort, just friendship, and it was just really nice from the very beginning. And it turns out there are a lot of parallels between me and my husband and my father and my stepmother. So there's been no looking back.